within 24 hours of being discharged, I was using again. And that was kind of when I really realized that I had a problem with addiction that I was unable to control.
Welcome to this week's edition of Recovery Happens. My name is Patrick Patterson, Center Manager for BW Rock. Today we're going to be sitting down with Joe as he offers hope to encourage recovery.
When I was growing up, before drugs and alcohol became a problem for me, my childhood was a pretty normal childhood. I came from two loving parents. We lived in a good neighborhood. I participated in sports, baseball, football, and wrestling, and things were pretty good. I grew up on an island called Grozio, which is south of Detroit. I started using at a very young age. By the time I was 17, I was on my second DUI. All throughout most of middle school and into high school, drugs continued to play a major problem in my life. I continued to use, and it escalated from alcohol and marijuana and turned into crack and heroin, at which time the legal consequences became more harsh. I was in and out of Wayne County Jail several times. The last time was I was in Wayne County Jail for almost 18 months straight. And at that point, I think, was when I really realized I was sitting in, I'll never forget this, I was sitting in Wayne County Jail talking to a man, and he was in his mid-60s. And I remember telling the guy, because I had been sitting in this jail cell for quite some time at that point, and I remember telling him that I'm never coming back to this place again. When I leave here, I'm done using. I'm done with my behaviors. And he looked me dead in the eye and said, I remember the first time I said that. And I knew right then that I was getting a glimpse of what my future was going to look like if I continued down this path of destruction. When I was released from the county jail at that time, I did go back to using. Despite telling myself for 18 months straight that I was never going to use again, within 24 hours of being discharged, I was using again. And that was kind of when I really realized that I had a problem with addiction that I was unable to control. With every best intention, when I left their facility, I just didn't have the willpower to overcome. But I did decide to go into treatment, and I went into Sacred Heart in Memphis, and I stayed there for 21 days. And then I came out to Port Huron. I had never been to Port Huron before, and I went into a recovery home called Vision Quest. At that point, Vision Quest had one home, and there were 7 people total that were staying in the house at the time. I started attending different 12-step meetings. I became employed at a local restaurant. After a few years of being in a recovery home, I became manager, and I ended up becoming employed by Vision Quest. And then I began going to SC Ford and continued with the meetings. At this point, I will have 12 years clean on April 1st. My story includes 4 different trips through 3 different treatment centers. And I don't think that they were failed attempts. I think that it just, at that point in my life, I just wasn't in a place to where I was willing to do whatever it takes to find recovery. You know, and relating it to an academic correlation for me, I know I failed math class, I failed math tests, but it didn't mean that I didn't pass 80% of the rest of them. And I think that a lot of times with recovery, there are some gray areas that just because I relapse once doesn't mean I can't finish off the class with an A. And that's where I kind of go with it, is that I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I didn't give up. It didn't take me out of the game completely. My life has changed completely since I've entered recovery. I basically always kind of look at it as I went from homeless to homeowner. I now have integrity, which I never had before. I have honesty in my life. I have friends in my life. I have family supports in my life. One of the greatest things that are in my life now is I have 2 beautiful daughters. When I was using, my main focus from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep was using. And the other day I woke up and was able to go to Donuts with Dad Day at my daughter's school. And to me, waking up and looking for a fix to going from there to Donuts with Dad is the best way for me to describe it, of how much my life has actually changed.
Thank you for tuning in to Recovery Happens, where our purpose is offering hope to encourage recovery. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please give us a call. If you would like to donate to the cause of recovery, please visit our website and click Donate. We would like to thank our sponsor, Vision Quest Recovery Housing.